I'm going to show you what I mean by Bethesda's game engine being the best game engine for this kind of game. Simply by playing it. I did do a video which showed you the technical side, but due to the system limitations of my computer, as in I didn't have enough RAM, it didn't quite work out as I thought it would. Technical errors, let's just say that. So I'm going to show you in the game, and I'm just going to point things out to you that are obvious, that people always overlook, and explain to you how and why these things are the way they are, including the graphics, frame rates, all of that kind of thing, and then everything else that wouldn't be in the game if it wasn't using Bethesda's engine, so you'd know what you'd be missing if they did switch to another engine. Let's get into it. Today I'm going to show you why Bethesda's game engine is the best game for the Elder Scrolls, and I'm going to do it by simply playing the game and explaining the things that most people overlook. Now, first of all, look at the graphics. This is what people talk about when they want to have an updated game engine. It's graphics, it's eye candy. They want that to look better. I don't know if you've noticed, but on the PC you can get mods that dramatically improve the graphics, and it has no bearing on the game. It doesn't change how the game plays. This is because Bethesda tuned down or turned down the graphics so the game plays smoothly. This is doing 60 frames per second right now because it's V-synced. It's limited in the game to 60 frames per second. It's not drawing much power and it's not making much heat. It'll run on almost anything. That means they can sell it to anybody. It's a commercial decision. Now, if you install a few graphics mods, this place transforms. The game engine can still handle it. So, the game engine itself doesn't need to be updated. This is a commercial choice designed to make the game sellable to more people. As for everything else, we're going to get into that now. Now, most game engines, you play something like a barrel, it's just eye candy. It's like looking at a wall. You can't do anything with it. Right? But on the Elder Scrolls, I can search it. I can take what's in it. If I come across something that doesn't belong to me, it'll be red. And if I take it, I can be arrested. You can wait as well, as you can see. Wait till opening time. You can fast travel. There's lots of features in this game that people take for granted.
Got something for
That
just
won't
about
exist if you
everybody
put it in another
here.
engine. For instance, this guy here, right? This is all eye candy. This is what you normally get in most games. But if I go to there, you didn't see me do it. You see? If I stole something in his line of sight, then he'd definitely see me do it and I'd definitely be arrested.
Have a look around.
Same with that.
I buy and sell just about
Then you've got
everything.
potions that you can actually do things with, as well as clutter like this, which you use to decorate homes and stuff. A bed you can sleep in. Don't take for granted a bed, because a lot of games you can't sleep. You know, fruit for vegetation and stuff for making meals. A pot for making meals. Now this door is just a random door we walk past. It's also one we can enter. Here's another one we can enter. All of these doors are accessible. There are no doors that are there for pure eye candy reasons. In most games, a temple is just what you see here. But if we go down to here, we can use the shrine and get blessings. Now this on the floor here, blood, that's a temporary decor that's placed on the ground that can be enabled and disabled by the quest. These little extra details aren't supported by every game engine. It's either part of the ground already or it doesn't exist. So these kind of details are missing in a lot of game engines. It's not powerful enough to do it or not featured enough to do it. And here you've got a smelter where you can smelt anything you like. Well, almost anything you like there. And I can use that to make a weapon over here. You see? Or boots. And I can refine them boots at another bench. These are all features of a game engine people think is out of date. In a marketplace full of people you can sell things to.
I'd travel more. Oh, a bit of this and a bit of that.
These aren't that hard to set up either. These are quite easy. If I was to do this in another game engine, this kind of thing would be very time consuming. It's not in this. It is easy. Now, if we fancied a drink, we could go to the bar. There's no scripted event here. This is just a
Another
standard
dark
feature.
elf. Maybe you should just drink for the thirsty, food for the hungry.
So well, look, let's get 3 bottles of black mead, some of that. We've got anything? Yeah, we'll get some of that and some wine. Okay.
Enjoy your stay.
Now we're just going to go upstairs, have a sit down, enjoy the fire. And now we're going to go to potions, food. We're just going to drink all these. Now if you notice, some of these have have effects that'll restore stamina and etc. You see, so we can have effects based on this. You drink some things, it'll actually make you drunk.
Every night.
And it's all a standard fare. That's not scripted. It doesn't. It's not. You don't have to go to a location for a quest. Drink this in order to get drunk, and then you find out how. This happens because wine has that effect. That beer has that effect. It's pre-programmed in the editor. You just drag and drop. It's nice, simple. Couldn't be easier. This is one of the features of the game engine everybody takes for granted when they start moaning about it. And it's the kind of feature that's missing in the game when you actually go to pick up another game and you're thinking, well, this looks pretty, but it doesn't have crafting, it doesn't have alcohol, it doesn't have, cooking, it doesn't have crafting of that kind. Most doors are locked. Yes, it might look pretty, but it's a very basic game. It's missing a lot of the features. Great for screenshots, not so good for gameplay. And I think this is one of the things many people who play Bethesda's games need to keep in mind. Because you can even buy a horse from this guy, or take a trip.
Need a ride? Where do you want to go?
Let's go to
Climb
Marco.
and back and we'll be off.
But the point is, these are all features in a game engine that people say is out of date. And if we go up here, I best draw my sword just in case that guy's about to attack somebody. Once we enter Markaf, we're entering a Dwemer ruin with all different types of stuff. Yep, there he is.
Oh, this pendant would look lovely on my sister.
I die for my...
These are the level of detail in this game, or in the Bethesda games, is so high. Most other games can't compete because their game engines simply aren't capable of allowing people who make the game to place the kind of detail that we see in this as easily as we do in this. Because in the editor, you're literally dragging and dropping things into the world. That would have been dragged and dropped into the world. That would have been. See, all of this would have been. Even the dogs and the NPCs would have been pre-programmed and dragged in. I mean, if this guy here has a wander package, he could be dropped in several times in different locations, and it'd look like several different characters. It's dead easy. It takes 10 seconds, if that. And these doors here, if we go here, see, it's locked. You need a lockpick to open it. It's not just barred and unable to go. It's a door you can physically need a higher skill to get through. And that's where the skills come in as well. If we walk down here, you watch what happens.
You're trespassing.
See?
You'd better clear out.
Doesn't even have to go through a loaded door. I mean, a loading door, that's a different
This is your
cell.
last warning.
See, that guard literally protects that area. Again, a feature of this game. A drag and drop feature that you can put like a trigger box around there. When you enter it, it triggers the guard. You can make all of these. Everything here you see you can make. These are not features you get in most RPGs. This is something that's unique to the Elder Scrolls. So you've got to understand the reason it's not as pretty as any other game is because Bethesda keep it down so the frame rates will stay high, the heat will stay low, and the power draw for your graphics card will stay low, so it'll continue to run well on any system that runs it. And as for graphics, I mean, you look what you can do with Bethesda's engine. You can't tell me that's not an impressive sight, especially at different times of day. This is one of the reasons why Bethesda's game engine is one of the best engines for what it's doing. Any other engine wouldn't be able to add this amount of detail in your lifetime. It'd take far too long. But with Bethesda's engine, you can just drag and drop. That is the real secret. I could configure that wheel to do something in the editor, then drop it 100 times in a matter of seconds, and it would do that thing 100 times in 100 different locations. It wouldn't take much effort at all. And the scripting is so powerful, you can use it to summon dragons, make cities disappear. I mean, you could script a horde to come running out of there and attack everything. It's really powerful. And when you mix it in with the other features, the features that you see here in front of you, it means you've got a living, breathing world. This pub here is a good example of one of the other reasons why this engine is best. Now, what you see here, without the woman moving around, and without them moving around, is what you see in a normal pub. People sat in one place, they barely move. But they're moving around because they've got wander packages on the AI that says wander around this location. She's sat there because she's got an idle animation marker on that chair that says you can sit and have a drink at that chair. Same there. Here it's the same as well. That one there says eat. The animation for that chair is eat something. If he stood up and went over there, he'd start to drink. This pub is alive because people move around. That's a feature of the game engine. A feature many other game engines simply do not have. This is why when people say the game engine's out of date, they really don't know what they're talking about. Bethesda update these things all the time. Those idle animations, they're a fairly recent addition. They used to have idle animations on their characters, of course, that allowed them to stand, and you had to trigger it as, using scripts and other things and AI packages. But now they've made it much easier. They just place place a marker over a chair that says cast a spell when you sat down, and it'll cast a spell into the fire when you sat down. Much easier. The nav meshing that allows them to walk on the floor, that's a fairly new feature from, well, not new, it's from Fallout 3. But yeah, it used to be like a lob system, like a dot system. You'd walk on the dots.
How about us?
Now it's a little bit more complicated than that. But see, let's just follow him, see what he does.
It up.
Believe it or not, what he's doing there, that's a marker as well. Tells him to lean against the wall and cross his arms.
Of rare goods.
This is the beauty of the Elder Scrolls engine right there. You don't get much better than that. Anyway, don't take these little things for granted, because these little things are what make the game worth playing over and over and over again. It's why it gets played more than most other RPGs, because of these little things. So don't be so keen to throw away these improvements, because it takes a long, long time to add all these back into any new engine. And if that new engine gets scrapped, then so do all these features. You have to start all over again.
Songs.
Which is why when you've got these other game engines and they feel a bit basic because you can't interact with anything, it's all like this log. You can't do anything with it. It's because they haven't had the time, the decades, to slowly work on everything like Bethesda have done with their game engine. I mean, here, look, she's there. I can sneak in here. Nick her money. And you can see if you're being seen, look. See, I didn't get seen, so I've just stolen money. If I did it over here, I would definitely get seen, and she'd report me, and there'd be guards all over the place. Just trying to get crime working in most games is beyond them. But in this, it's a standard feature. You can also pick plants, literally garden. It's a feature of the game added in Skyrim. You can use that to make soup, which restores your health and energy. This is all things people take for granted that you simply don't get in other games. And when it's gone, there's some complaint it's not there. All because they wanted that tree to look a lot prettier. But the fact is, if that tree did look pretty, the chances are it wouldn't work on the consoles. So if it's a console users complaining about the graphics, they really need to get a PC. As soon as you start adding detail to the game, you slow the frame rates down. It just goes with the territory. The more detail, the more features you have in the game, the slower the game will run. It's a trade-off. You trade off the graphics with features. You want features, you lower the graphics. In this case, this is the balance. The amount of features Bethesda added versus the graphics available. And here, we can harvest flowers. And if you may notice, but we've got Forsworn here. Right there, in fact. He hasn't seen us yet, so we can sneak up on him.
Over here.
Now you see that? That's a very natural combat system. None of this spinning around like a berserker, hitting out on things. We're looting this, we're even able to loot the bodies. But on this, we're running around here, killing things, and what's in front of us is what we hit. There's so many games where you're like spinning around like that. If I can just dancing around and you always manage to hit the guy over there. It's not realistic. I mean, how is that fun? How does that look good? This is why they give them all eye candy and massive swords to pretty things up, because it's not realistic. It looks a bit naff. This guy, you saw that power move. I mean, yeah, a bit over the top in my opinion, but at least it works. He was killing the thing that was in front of me. If I went up here, I'm sure I'd find more trouble to get into. Look at that, you see? Remember, it's the time of day that makes it look a bit misty as well. So the weather, you can't overestimate the weather either, because the weather changes dramatically. In fact, if I was to wait now, see what happens. Last seed, that means it's basically autumn. So it's still misty. But when it gets into the winter period, this would all change again. I mean, time, weather, again, features. How many games have you played where it's always daylight?
Hand over your valuables,
That was a neat trick.
or I'll gut you like a fish.
Again, this is a preset thing, right? It says this was designed to happen. Once he's dead, he's gone. So this is the kind of thing you'd see in other games. But watch the combat as I do it. Watch how smoothly it works.
Then I guess that's your last request, fool.
Never should have come here.
See, I'm actually hitting him. You see? I know what's happening there. I'm not actually hitting him. It looks like I am, but I'm not. What's really happening is I'm hitting the area where he occupies, and the game is telling it to show stagger and blood and things like that. So it triggers these effects. But it looks realistic when you play it. And see these fish? Yep, just picked one. Butterfly, dragonfly, just picked one. You see? Swim underwater. There's a crab, you see? But it's these little things that make the game engine special, what make it fun. It's the reason why we all come back to the Elder Scrolls. Take it away, you wouldn't have the Elder Scrolls. You'd have a game you play for a month, put down and never touch again. Now you've seen what the game can do, or been reminded of what the game can do, imagine if you added all those features to the Unreal Engine, or some other engine, and they knocked the graphics up really high, so you were getting about 50 frames per second. And then they added all that. Now you're getting 20 frames per second. And the chances are it would have taken them an extraordinarily long time to add all those features to the game because of how those engines work. See, the back end is just as important as this side of the game you see. When I'm making a mod, I wouldn't be able to make a mod in 3 months on the Unreal Engine. It'd take too long to make Return to Helgen on the Unreal Engine because of what I'd have to do. Everything would be more work. Just placing something in the world would be more work. The frame rate hit you get for if I place too much would stop you from playing it. So Bethesda found that sweet spot between graphics and detail that allows you to enjoy the game. It is why their games are some of the best in the world. Because that sweet spot matters. Go too far one way, you're losing detail. Go too far the other way, you're losing graphics. it's important to understand the balance being achieved here by Bethesda, because in a way it means they've heavily tested their game to make sure it does work on all systems, and to get that you need to understand that balance. Anyway, this is why Bethesda's game engine is the best game engine for the kind of work it does, because it gives us everything, and not many game engines do that. See you in the next one.